With the Seahawks still trailing the Giants midway through the third quarter of Sunday's game in New York, Doug Baldwin stood in the slot, 2 yards away from Dominque Rodgers-Cromartie. Moments earlier, Baldwin, Russell Wilson and the rest of Seattle's offense had recognized that the Giants were playing cover zero, as in zero safety help in the middle of the field, and Wilson changed the play to capitalize on New York's aggressive call. In that moment, Baldwin knew that, if he could beat single coverage, as he has done so many times in his career, the end result was going to be a touchdown. As Justin Britt snapped the ball to Wilson, Baldwin took one step towards Cromartie, more of a hop, actually, then instead of running right away, he stutter-stepped and ever so subtly feigned a release to the outside. When Baldwin saw Cromartie shift his weight to his left foot, Baldwin exploded off of his right foot and blew past the two-time Pro Bowl cornerback with an inside release. A few steps later, Baldwin had 3 yards of separation as Wilson's pass fell towards him for a touchdown that gave the Seahawks a lead they would never give up in an eventual 24-7 victory. Baldwin has a lot of moves, but that one, his hop-skip hesitation, he describes as a basketball crossover dribble, minus the ball, is his go-to, an almost impossible to defend move thanks to Baldwin's quickness at the line of scrimmage. "I can do a lot of things depending upon the leverage of the guy covering me," Baldwin said. "My favorite one is a hop-skip. I call it a hop-skip hesitation. Basically I hop into it, hesitate, then give a jab left or a jab right, then depending on his leverage at that time, then I decide which side I'm going to go to." Talk to any teammate or opponent about Baldwin's ability to get open, and the first thing they'll mention is what he can do in those initial moments at the line of scrimmage. "He's very explosive off the line of scrimmage," said Seahawks cornerback Richard Sherman, who has been practicing against Baldwin for a decade dating back to their time together at Stanford. "He's very deliberate in his route running, sudden would be the word. Literally if you blink, you miss him. If you're blinking while he's making his move, that's just your biggest mistake. If you haven't seen him before, if you haven't played against him, if you haven't lined up in front of him, he'll take you by surprise. He'll jump up on you quick. It'll be difficult to adjust to his movements and his quickness. He could probably have 2,000 yards if he wasn't double-teamed and things like that all of the time, but he's tough to deal with." Yet as much as Baldwin's quickness and athletic ability plays into it, the mental side of the game plays a huge role as well. "Doug's really aware of coverage," said fellow Seahawks receiver Paul Richardson. "That's what makes him such a good route runner. Going into a game, Baldwin will have a pretty good idea of how a team will cover him based on film study, but oftentimes, an in-game chess match can also take place between receiver and corner. As Baldwin puts it, some corners will try to be sneaky and change things up from what they show on film. Baldwin can counter by working throughout a game to set up his man. That's what happened on the 22-yard touchdown catch against the Giants. After using an outside release several times against Cromartie, Baldwin faked the same thing in a big moment, caught his opponent leaning, then broke free for a score. The touchdown was a prime example of that," he said. "I was giving an outside move all game to Cromartie. Then on the touchdown, I made him think I was going outside, then I went inside." 6 games into his 7th season in the NFL, Baldwin is on pace for 96 catches, which would eclipse last year's career high and franchise record-tying total of 94. He is also on pace for a 3rd straight 1,000 season, something only Steve Largent has done in franchise history. Largent had 2 different streaks of 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Baldwin has rightly received a lot of attention over the past year for work he is doing off the field. He co-wrote a letter with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to the Senate Judiciary Committee calling for criminal justice reform. He helped lead the formation of the Seahawks Players Equality and Justice for All Action Fund. He has traveled to Olympia to meet with lawmakers, and over the past year, he has helped lead a Build a Bridge task force which has worked with local law enforcement agencies to help build a bridge between law enforcement and the communities they serve. What all of that is not done is distract Baldwin from his day job. Despite taking on so many things, including marriage this offseason, Baldwin has only improved as a player. Honestly, it's not that difficult, Baldwin said of having a lot on his plate. I'm one of those guys where I enjoy challenges, and the more challenges I have, the more I'm able to focus, the more my world gets smaller. I know people think I'm piling on things, but it's not that I pile things on. I'm very selective on the things I take on, but then I give my all to those things. When I'm focused in one area of my life, it helps me focus in other areas of my life as well, so it makes the other things easier.